Hello, everybody. Welcome to Weird Mythic Podcast. And as always, it's me, Naomi, and I'm always with the wonderful and beautiful Serena. Friend.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
How are you doing?
I'm doing, well, I'm stressed out right now. Like, I got decisions to make, but I'm okay. It's like, you can tell it's cooling down. In the morning when I left at 6:30 this morning, I was like actually a little chilly. I'm excited for it.
Oh gosh, I saw somebody post on Facebook like yesterday or the day before, and they're like, so the summer weather broke me. It's 85 degrees and I'm cold. I relate to that so much right now.
Seriously. It was like 65 and I'm like, ooh, chilly.
Right? It's like, it is not cold, honestly,
No.
but it feels so nice. I think we all just want to be in sweaters at this point.
1,000,000%. That's like my aesthetic. Like, that's what makes me happy in life, is to be in a hoodie and like leggings and boots. Like, that's all I need.
Right. Girl, I am with you. Oh man, I need to wear my hats. I always wear my little knit hats in the winter and I miss them.
I'm going to get you a Weird Mythic beanie.
Oh, girl. I will rock it.
I know. Free advertising.
Right.
Or like, I've seen people wear those shirts that say like, ask me about my podcast. I'm going to get you some of those shirts because you're better at talking about it than I am.
I don't know, man. When we went to the podcast festival, you were killing it meeting people
like
and putting yourself out there.
Like day 2, though.
Still. No, it was awesome. I got to see you like, ask me questions. And then you were totally like going up to people and asking them questions. It was awesome.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Of course. Of course. So, all right. Well, let's get started.
Okay.
I just want to hear what you got for me because I have no idea what you got.
I have something so different.
Okay.
Okay. So I found it on another podcast called Let's Get Haunted, and they're a lot of fun. You're going to like them if you haven't heard them already.
All right.
They did this like sequence of like testing. So you're my test subject today.
All right.
And it's called like the Raycon test, and it's like of Japanese folklore. So the Raycon is basically like the ability to sense the supernatural. So like that they have that sixth sense, right? So there's like this idea that everybody kind of has a sixth sense and the ability to sense supernatural in some way, right? Some are obviously stronger than others. You have like psychic mediums and all of these kind of people, and I'm definitely not like that at all. But we're going to do a series of tests to kind of see if you have the ability to sense the supernatural, if you're down.
I am down. Let's do
all right,
this.
and everybody at home, definitely play along, but if you're driving, I would suggest not, because you have to close your eyes. So
please don't do this if you're driving.
Disclaimer, like, don't do this if you're driving. Pull over. Scott, pull over to the side of the road or listen later, okay? So yeah, like I said, the idea of the Raycon test is to essentially that there are different levels to the ability, right? So I think of it like a spectrum almost. Like, you have one end of the spectrum where people are kind of like, they don't really, maybe not necessarily believe, but they just they don't have that sense. Like, they're not, like, I would say me, like, I'm probably like on that end of the spectrum where like, I don't think I'm very sensitive to the supernatural. But I definitely believe in it. Obviously, we have a podcast about it. That would be kind of weird. And then you have the other end of the spectrum, like I said, where it's like they're hyper aware of the supernatural and able to kind of have these extra abilities, right?
Okay.
So do you think, or have you ever had any kind of supernatural experience? I think we've talked about it before.
It's sort of. Yeah, I think between you and I, we've had I've had like maybe one or two at the most sort of paranormal or supernatural experience.
Yeah, I would say the same for me. What do you think your outcome on this test is going to be? Like, do you think you're going to be completely like flat into the spectrum, or do you think you're going to be like somewhere in the middle?
I'm hoping to be somewhere in the middle.
Okay.
Like, I will be the skeptic and think like, okay, you can't do this, or there's no such thing as this, but I like to look for the evidence for it. So I'm going to be open, and I'm hoping to be somewhere in the middle. So
right.
Hopefully I'm not strong on the negative end.
Cool, like me.
I don't think you would be. We'll have to try
Well,
this test out
I
on you
did the
next,
test, so
so.
I'll go ahead and share my
Oh.
results after.
Cool.
But
Okay,
also, like,
after.
another disclaimer, I'm not like a professional. Like, this is just, it's just fun. It's going to be a segue into our next episode that's going to be like paranormal games.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
we're going to tease you guys a little bit on that one. I just thought it'd be something fun and interactive, like when we had our Mandela Effect episode where we did
Yeah.
like the little quiz.
And I like failed miserably.
You're going to pass this one. I don't know if there's a pass fail on this one, but we're going
Maybe
to,
I can
okay.
see what my psychic abilities
Right?
are.
Okay. So like I said, you are going to need to close your eyes. So
Okay.
clear your
Okay.
mind.
Okay.
Again, feel free to follow along if you guys are listening at home.
Lean back in my chair.
Are you ready?
Chill. I'm ready. Eyes
All
are
right.
closed.
Perfect. And keep your eyes closed during this whole entire interaction, okay?
Okay.
Okay, so you are going to be using your imagination for this one. So get ready and clear your mind, focus. I want you to go ahead and picture your childhood home. Picture it in your mind exactly as you remember it. If you moved around a lot or you had more than one childhood home, pick the one that holds the most significance and sentimental value to you. Do you have that pictured?
I got it.
Okay, imagine that you're standing on the street or sidewalk facing your front door. So you're looking at your house right now. Take note of like the things that are around you. If you hear anything, if you see, what does the grass look like? What does the sidewalk look like? You're looking around, and if there's any smells that you remember, take that into note as well. All right, look at your front door and picture the details. Picture the paint color, the doorknob, the doormat, any windows or plants that might be next to the door of your childhood home.
All right.
Put your hand on the doorknob and open the door. Go ahead and enter your childhood home. Once you're inside the home, close the door behind you and look around the room. Still standing in the entryway, take in everything that you see. Remembering the layout and the floor plan of the home. Remember how many stories the house was. Continue to imagine the entryway that you're standing in. Now you're going to go through the home. So go through the home room by room, starting with the room closest to the front door. And I want you to open every window in that room.
Open all the windows. That's a lot of windows. But okay.
Take note of the order in which you are opening them. So one by one, you're opening the windows in one room, and you're moving on to the next room. Go ahead and take a few seconds to finish opening all of the windows in your house one by one, and then let me know when you're done.
All right. I got all the windows open.
All right. Once all of the windows are open, you're now going to walk back through the house and close all of the windows in the opposite order in which you opened them. So starting from the last window you opened and working backwards, close them one by one, taking note of the rooms that you enter when you do so. Take a moment to look around each room that you're in when you're closing the windows. Once you've gone through the house and closed all of the windows, I want you to walk to the front door and let me know when you're there. You can take your time looking around too.
All right. I am standing at the door.
All right, now exit the front door and shut the door behind you. Stand facing the front door just as you did in the beginning. Let me know once you've shut the front door.
All right. I have it shut, and I'm now looking at the front door.
All right, now open your eyes. All right,
Okay.
now I have a couple questions for you.
All right.
Okay, so while you were walking through the house, did you see anybody inside the home?
I did not.
No, there was nobody there?
Mm-mm.
No childhood pets or anything?
No pets.
Okay.
Just the empty house. Like there was furniture and all the stuff in there, but nobody
Okay.
was in there.
So if you did see someone, people at home, who was it? Was it somebody that you know, or was it a stranger perhaps? So
Well,
go ahead.
so when I walked into the house, living room, dining room, kitchen, nobody. But when I go into the bedrooms, I definitely got the feeling of like my brother and my stepsisters.
Okay, so you had like the feeling of their presence.
Yeah, 'cause
Okay.
it was their room.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, so according to the Japanese urban legend, if you didn't see anyone, then your Raycon isn't very strong and you most likely cannot see ghosts. If you did see someone, your Raycon is stronger and you might be able to see ghosts. But I feel like if you got the presence that somebody was there, like that's still something, right?
Yeah, yeah, because it's I definitely like.
It just didn't feel
especially
like an
in the
empty house
kids'
that you're
room.
walking through that's like unfamiliar, right?
It was at first until I started going into the bedrooms.
Okay.
And I'm like, okay, this is my brother's in the kids' room. And then I went to the next room, and that's where me and my stepsister were.
Okay. So if you saw someone, your Raycon is stronger and you might be able to see ghosts. If the people that you saw were people that you knew, such as friends or family, and they looked normal, this is a good sign. You're probably surrounded by positive spirits. If the people you saw had their backs turned to you, however, or looked strange, this is a bad omen. And if you saw people that were strangers, your Raycon is extremely high and you can definitely see ghosts. Side note, if you happen to run into one of the people that you saw in your house in real life, those are ghosts. And there's like stories about people seeing those. So that's that first test we did. So that one's over.
Okay. I
When
liked it.
it's interesting,
It was just
right?
kind of like, it almost reminded me of the past life regression
Yeah.
that you and I did on YouTube.
Just my voice
It
isn't
kinda
as soothing.
It was perfect. But that's what it reminded me of.
So when I did it, I was standing on the sidewalk and it was like at the part where it said like smells or whatever, I smelled like cigarette smoke because my grandpa used to always sit on the like porch and smoke cigarettes when we were playing in the front yard, and I saw my grandpa sitting there. But then when I walked in all throughout the house, I didn't see anybody. So once I was in the house, I didn't see anyone and I didn't feel like anybody was in there. But once it was when I was like walking up to the door at first. I like pictured him sitting there next to the.
Yeah, I had to. You kept saying sidewalk and street, and I'm like, well, we were on a farm.
I know.
So it was a little dirt road, and there was absolutely no sidewalks. But what I did like when you said, think of the surrounding, think about the smells that were around.
Did you see any pets or like goats or anything?
I didn't see any of the animals, but I knew they were there.
Okay.
Like I could hear the horses.
Okay.
I didn't hear any chickens, but I definitely heard the horses, and I had. Yeah, it's gross, but I had the smell of like manure and dirt.
See, I feel like that's like
stuff like that.
That's definitely something, right? Like I feel like that.
There was definitely those smells.
Yeah,
of
I mean,
being on a farm.
And you have a really good imagination if you were able to like remember those smells. And like for me, I was like, oh, I don't know how many windows. Like, and I was like, hold on, I have to run to like my brother's side of the house and go into their little room and like, is there a window in the laundry room? Like I couldn't remember like where we had so many windows.
We had a lot of windows in that house. It was kind of like the house that you're in now. So it was huge windows. And
you're all struggling to open the window.
That, and they're old as fuck. Yeah. This thing was probably built in the 70s. So I'm like sliding and pushing them.
Yeah.
But what I did not do was open up the glass doors, because there was one sliding glass door.
I didn't either.
I didn't count that as a window. I strictly stuck to the windows.
I just did the windows. I didn't open. There was a sliding glass door in my grandma's room that I didn't open, and there was one in the like dining room that I didn't open. Yeah. And I didn't see my childhood pet, Lucky Dog. I thought he would be there.
I didn't see mine either. We had a few different cats. We had our orange cat Stuck, and then I had a like calico black cat named Speck, and I didn't see either of them, but I definitely got the feeling of the horses were around.
Yeah. Well, I feel like the feeling is like what it is, right? Okay, I have one. Yeah. Well, I have two more. 1.5. We'll call it 1.5. All right. Okay. So this next one, you don't. I don't need to close my eyes to like imagine things. Is that normal?
Right. I think so.
When you imagine things,
be like daydreaming.
Yeah, when you imagine things, do you see the actual picture in your head?
Yes, sometimes I will like, and you've probably seen me do this when I'm like trying to think of what to say next or trying to remember what I'm trying to say, is I will close my eyes to get that
Yeah.
mental picture, but I don't have to do that
Yeah.
every time.
I usually, like, I did for this just because it said to close your eyes. But usually, like, if I'm like thinking, like, I can fully look at the wall right now and just picture like an entire like memory and scene, which I want to get into a little bit later because I kind of have like a theory.
Okay.
So, all right. So this next one. Okay. So think about what you had for dinner last night. Do you remember what you had for dinner last? Don't tell me, but do you remember?
I do. I
Okay.
remember what I had for dinner.
So
last
picture
night.
your last night's dinner. Think back to eating dinner last night and picture what you had for dinner. Once you've pictured dinner last night, tell me what that looks like. Like, were you looking down at the plate of food, or did you actually see yourself in the third person? Like you're eating the food?
No, I looked down at it.
Okay, so did I. And yeah, apparently, like, if you look down and you see the plate, which is like what I saw too, that shows that your mind is not naturally wired to see ghosts. You think with like a different part of your
Oh.
brain. But if you actually saw yourself in the third person, that you're like eating dinner and you're watching yourself, like say like, okay, this is where my theory
like-
comes in. That shows
Okay.
that you're like, you think with a different part of your brain, and it's likely that you can see ghosts. So if you can't remember what you had last night for dinner, I feel like that's like, I mean, some people have trouble remembering things because of like stress and anxiety or like, you know, just remembrance problems or whatever. But like,
Yeah.
they say that if you can't remember that, that shows a sign of a high Raycon, which I thought was interesting. But my question for you, so when you imagine memories, so like say that you were thinking about when we went to Dallas, right? And you're like, do you like play it out in your mind? Are you in the third person? Are you watching yourself in that memory? Or are you in your body and you're watching yourself like interact with me?
Huh. I want to say I am myself. I'm not really looking at it from a third party point of view.
Okay,
However,
interesting. Because for me,
I do go back and forth.
yeah,
Like I think it kind of depends on the situation for me, because if I'm just like going down memory lane and just like nostalgia or something, I am looking at it kind of from a third
Yeah.
point of view. However, if I'm like talking about something that I did, or like having a conversation with somebody about something that I did with another person,
Mhm.
I'm there in that situation at that.
Yeah, for me, I never have that. It's always in the third person. So like
See,
if
yeah,
I
not
think
for
about
me.
this moment where I'm giving you this test, if I think about it tomorrow, I'm going to be like standing in the corner of the room staring at myself sitting on the bed with my microphone in hand. Like I
Okay.
never think of memories in first person, which is super
Okay.
weird to me because I feel like you do both, which is awesome. But I just like if I think about it hard enough, obviously I can put myself in that and I can like see what it would look like in third person. But mine are always in third person.
Yeah. Huh. Okay.
So I don't know.
Huh.
But yeah, that's that one. And then there's one more. So
okay.
hold your hands up and then like clasp them like you're gonna go like pray or something.
Oh, okay. So like just put them together.
Just put them, yeah, clasp your hands
Can I
together.
lace my fingers?
Okay, so which index finger is closest to you?
The one on my left hand.
Okay, that's the sign of a high Raycon.
Oh,
Mine is my right hand. My right
Oh,
hand
how
index
interesting.
finger is closer. Are you left-handed or right-handed?
I'm right-handed.
Yeah, which is strange because usually it would be your right hand, right? If you're right-handed.
No, I just put my hands together and then laced them, and yep, it's definitely the left finger, left pointer finger, index finger is closest to me. Same thing with my left thumb, actually. So left thumb, left finger are over the right ones.
For me, it's my right. I don't know why. Well, I also clasp my hands differently. I don't weave back and forth.
Yeah.
Like I clap them like I'm holding my hand. I don't weave them
Okay.
like. Does that make sense?
Like when you clap, you have your fingers together, or you have your hands like fingers up and then the other fingers out.
Like when I clasp my hands together, they're like the inner webbing of the thumbs is like touching each other, and then I close my hands around each other.
Oh, Oh.
Is that a strange way to do
I
it?
got you. I just did that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm like trying to
Okay.
explain it because you can't see me, but
Yeah. No, I got you.
so that would
Okay.
put my right index finger in front of, like, closest to my body. But if I weave, if I like make myself weave, it's my left, which I feel like that's
Huh.
probably normal, right? I don't know. But that just shows that you think with the more creative side of your brain, which that's the left side, right? I don't know. I think
you're
that's the
right.
left side. But that just shows that you're left brain dominant, or you're more creative or more imaginative. So
I do tend to get stuck in my head often.
but yeah, that supposedly all shows signs of if you're you have that sixth sense capability, and if you're kind of susceptible and open to it. And I feel like, I mean, I saw the one family member, but that's just so ingrained in my mind too, because he was always sitting there smoking. Like, that's just like a
Right.
core memory, you know?
Right.
And then, like, if I was surprised, because I felt like when I was going, if I were to be going into my brother's room, like, they'd each be on the computer, but that I didn't.
Okay.
It was empty.
Yeah, it was kind of strange. So when I go in, I went from the living room to the dining room, circled around to the kitchen, and then there was like another little like room. It was where the fireplace was,
Mhm.
and then there was the hallway. To the right, there was the laundry room, and then a bathroom next to it. And at the end of the hallway was my dad's room and the master bathroom. And then from the left, like across from the laundry room, there was 2 bedrooms. So the one that was directly across from the laundry room, like, that was where my brother and my 2 youngest siblings were there. And we're not siblings anymore, but they were at that time. So I think it's weird that I pictured it at that time in
Yeah.
my life, because I could have done it when my mom was there.
Right.
Or I could have done it when it was just me, my brother, and my dad. But when I was in that room, I definitely got the feeling it was Hunter, Bailey, and Jacob.
Funny.
And when I go into the room that I shared with my stepsister, I didn't get the sense of her.
but
I
just
didn't
was like
her either.
a specific time in your life, then, I guess, that you
Yes,
like
that's what I
transported
was
back
like.
to.
Yeah, I was like, I don't like her, and I didn't acknowledge her. But when I was in the kids' room, I definitely got the presence that all 3 of the kids were there.
That's good. That's good. All right. Well,
Very
that's my
interesting.
little thing. And I mean, obviously, you know, take that how you will. It's just a fun little folklore
Mhm.
test to do. But curious to hear your guys' results. If anything happened, definitely send us an email at weirdmythicpodcast@gmail.com.
Yeah, you guys take the test. Listen to Serena.
Yeah.
Let her
Or
go
like
through
do it
it.
online. But now that you know, like, don't let that affect. That's why I said, like, don't listen to the episode before you try it, because it's going to spoil the results. But
Yeah, it was very interesting. I liked it. So am I in the middle, Serena?
I would say probably, I feel like you're like where I was. I feel like we were like equal, like not at the bottom, but not quite in the middle, like just kind of
Yeah.
right there in like the middle of the middle. Like,
The middle,
The middle of the bottom
We're
half
a
of the-
quarter of a way. We're a quarter of the way there.
yeah. I mean, but then we can work on it if we want to, you know? If you want to work on
Yeah.
it, you can, there's always ways to open up your self. I don't know that I want to do that, but
Well, thank you for that, Serena. I'm definitely gonna. So, really, what I took away from that is if I want to enhance my psychic abilities, I need to really work on it.
well, it seems like you want to, though. It sounds like that's like what you were hoping for. So,
Yeah. I mean, between you and I, we haven't had too many paranormal experiences. And I was actually talking to my mom earlier this week, and she's like, you both need a paranormal experience. Like, you guys need to see some ghosts.
like, together, though.
You're right, though, Mom. You're right. Because my mom has a little witchiness in her, too. And she's told me stories about, like, her and her friends and things that have happened. And I'm like, see, you just need to get those certain energies together, and maybe
Yeah.
you can hone in all that energy together.
You know what
I mean?
I like wanted to do like a Ouija board or something when we were there together. Even though I'm like scared shitless, right? But I think the next time we get together, we're definitely going to do something.
Let's do it. You know I'm down, girl.
Yeah.
I'm down.
Maybe you
I'm
tune
here
into our
for it.
next episode when we talk about haunted games, and maybe we'll play one of those. But what do you have
Hell
for me
yeah.
today? Now that we're open and now that we're like trying to see all these ghosts, I feel like you can take us to a really cool place right now. trying to segue into that.
I will be talking about a haunted place. And this was recommended to us, wasn't it?
Yes, a Nefarious Nightmare, right?
Yes,
I believe so,
Nefarious Nightmare. And I did listen to her episode, and I did not write down her experience, so I do apologize about that. But go ahead and listen to Nefarious Nightmare. They also have an episode on this same place. I will be talking about the Maxdale Bridge. It is in Killeen, Texas, or Killian. I'm not sure. It's Killeen. Killian. So the Maxdale Bridge. Little history on the Maxdale Bridge. It was constructed in 1913. However, due to flooding in that area, I guess that whole area where the Maxwell Bridge in that part of Texas has a lot of flooding. So they started the original build in 1913, and then due to flooding and whatnot, they had to stop the construction, and then they were able to pick it back up in 1916 when it was finally finished. Something to note, right where they put this bridge over this river, on the other side of this bridge, it leads directly into a cemetery called the Maxdale Cemetery, and it's been there since 1863. So just keep that in mind when we're talking about this bridge. So this is one, if not the oldest bridge in Bell County. It is off of Wolf Ridge Road, and it's right over the Lampus River. This is not up to code. I looked it up and I'm like, this is old. Like, this is a really old bridge, and it is not up to code.
Careful, then.
You can't bring your vehicle on there. It is big enough to take your car or truck across this bridge, but due to the fact that it is older and due to the fact that it has these haunted sightings and ghost sightings, the county actually blocks it off.
Oh.
So they actually put up a barrier so no one can take their cars over there. And it's near and sort of on the border of private property. So if you do go visit this bridge, keep that in mind also. You don't want to get in trouble for trespassing.
Yeah, they carry in Texas, so.
Yeah, so just saying. So, and it was marked as a historical landmark back in 1990. So all I got to say about that is there is so much graffiti and vandalism on this bridge. People, you just need to stop. Stop throwing your trash on this bridge. Like, you're going there to do some ghost hunts, but I saw so much graffiti and trash in some of these videos, and even the people in those videos were like, I gotta clean this up because there's just trash everywhere.
That's
I think
so
this
annoying.
is also and I think this is also a site where, you know, teenagers might go to get high and drink sometimes. So that makes a lot of sense. All right, so there are a lot of ghost sightings near this bridge, and they kind of started almost immediately, I feel like. So I'm going to go through some of the main stories that people told about this bridge.
Okay.
One of the main stories, and I saw it fucking everywhere, that there was a man and his girlfriend, and they were swimming in the Lampus River near the bridge or right underneath it. And I guess his girlfriend got swept up underneath the water, and he was unable to save her. And unfortunately, she did pass away due to drowning. This man was so distraught that he went back to the bridge and hung himself from the bridge.
Oh my goodness.
Yes. So I couldn't find any reports of a man who hung himself at the bridge. However, these are the stories that go along with if you go to that bridge. If you stop on the bridge, and this is in a car, if you're able to get your car onto the bridge, you stop there, you turn off your headlights, you count to 10, and then turn your headlights back on, and you will see the man hanging from the bridge in front of you.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's another story. And so there's a story about a school bus full of children. And they were driving across the bridge, and the story goes that the bus driver saw an oncoming vehicle, and it was a big rig. I think they said it was like a Coca-Cola truck, and the Coca-Cola truck wasn't stopping. And so the bus driver kind of steered out of the way, but eventually went off into the river. Unfortunately, a lot of kids were killed in that story. So, if you go to the entrance of the bridge and you park, you don't go on to the bridge at all. You just park right at the entrance and you honk your horn, and you might start to see some condensation or breath coming onto your car windows from the outside.
Ew, that's so scary.
Mm-hmm. Yes. I want to know what would happen if your windows were down.
Oh, please don't drive with your windows down if you're going over a haunted bridge.
You're going over the bridge and you stop and like you have your windows down. Are you gonna feel the children's breath?
New fear unlocked. I'm gonna roll my windows up for every bridge I pass. Like, it's not happening. Not a chance.
Yeah. So another part of this is like, so I tried to look into exactly what happened to this bus. Another story was that the bus driver was actually drunk and went off the road. And there's another story about how there was a flash flood and that's what pushed the bus off the road. So
those are all really sad.
It's horrible. Another story comes that if you go and you sit quietly with your car off, you actually might hear the screams or the giggles of children.
I think
you will also see handprints on your car, like they're trying to move your car out of the way.
Wait, I feel like I've heard this before.
You did. It came from one of your stories when we did the haunted roads.
I was like, hold on, this is too familiar.
Yes. Which was also in Texas, if I remember correctly.
I think it was.
It was, yeah. So another story that comes from this bridge. A lot of people see a ghost truck, like a giant truck, comes speeding past them, and they feel like they're almost going to get hit by this truck, and then all of a sudden the truck disappears.
Well, that's good, but shit.
Right? There's a story of a man who drove his truck off of the bridge committing suicide. And that's where the story of the ghost truck comes in.
What the F?
In one of the articles that I read, and let me see if I actually have it right here. I think it's a backpackerverse.com. And when they were having the article about the bridge, I like read it all and I'm like, okay, cool. I got that information, but I got another source for it. But I started reading the comments on this page. And that's where my interest just went, oh, these are great stories. So in the comments section, and there was a lot about pretty much the same incident. So I'm going to talk about pretty much the same story, but from 3 different people. The original post was in 2014 about a story from 2013. And then there was 2 other stories that were posted in 2019, but the stories took place in the 90s. All about the ghost truck. So all 3 saw this truck at different times, obviously, saw this truck like rush past them, like very high speed. All of them at this time were leaving the bridge. They didn't get there and see the truck. They were actually leaving the bridge at this time and saw the truck as they were leaving. So let me see right here. So the one from 2013, they were leaving the bridge and saw the truck speed past them as they were getting onto the main road. They turned the same way the truck was heading, and as they turned onto the road, there was no sign of the vehicle. And this truck, they said, like, it scared the hell out of them. Like, they jumped back in their seat. They thought that they were going to get hit from this truck. So the fact that they, like, went out to be like, yeah, they were, like, ready to get hit. So it sped past them. They turned left onto the main road, and there's no truck in sight. There was no other truck no other road for it to go off to. It was a main strip of road. So the fact that there was nothing there really freaked them out.
Yeah.
The stories from the 90s, this truck actually followed these 2 individual people. They were tailgating. They were flashing their brights. They were going extremely fast, running up behind them, pulling back, running up again behind them, totally tailgating. And the next thing they knew, the further they got away, all of a sudden the truck disappeared. It never passed them. It never stopped. It just disappeared from the rearview window. Yeah.
Whale?
So, yeah, I was like, so the ghost truck is no bueno.
I
But
feel like
lots of ghost trucks.
Yeah, I
sightings,
feel like
lots.
we did another story too where one was like coming head on, or it was like at least headlights were following you. Or was it the 11-mile game? No,
Not 11 Mile.
it was I think it was when we did our Haunted Roads episode
I think so.
on like the Devil's Highway or whatever.
Something like that. So remember how I said that this bridge was right next to a cemetery, right? So I went onto YouTube just to look at some videos because there was a lot of ghost hunting videos at this site. And one of the videos had some locals on it talking about the cemetery and talking about the bridge. And one of the oldest graves in the Maxdale Cemetery is a woman named Elizabeth Simpson, and her grave is marked at 1862. The story goes that she stole horses and then she was hung from an oak tree across from the cemetery. There's also people saying that she might have been a witch, but I couldn't find anything specific on that. If you go visit her gravesite, it is said you must leave some sort of offering.
Okay.
This cemetery, I didn't really do a whole lot of research on it because I was trying to focus mainly on the bridge. But a lot of the people who talked about this cemetery talked about the witch that was there. So I'm thinking that this might be the Elizabeth person. Another thing that came up from the locals, that they believe that there was an Indian burial site near that cemetery.
Okay.
And I'm like, what? If there's any sort of Indian burial sites, we need to preserve that and not piss them off.
Yeah, that's how you get poltergeist.
Thank you. So I did read a couple of the comments on this YouTube video, and the ones that stood out the most to me was 2 years ago, a group of people went out ghost hunting on Halloween, and they didn't see a whole lot, but they caught so many pictures of orbs in the cemetery, and it looked great. I was like, these orbs ain't normal. Like, there was some that were brighter than others, some that were dull, some you could see through, some you couldn't. It was really cool to see those pictures. There was another story that was posted a couple years ago, but it took place back in 1984, where a group of 6 friends did see a poltergeist in the cemetery. So
Wait, say that again?
That a group of 6 people saw a poltergeist in the cemetery.
And that's all I get? That's all
it is. It's all they said. We saw a ghost. I was like, all right.
Casually.
So there has, like I said, there has been a lot of ghost hunters, a lot of, I don't like to say the word amateur ghost hunting, but that's mainly what I saw, was people with just their camera
like us.
trying. Yes, exactly. Like, I couldn't find one. Maybe I just didn't look properly or put in the right words in the search bar, but I would really like to see if there's any way that somebody could have a full night at that bridge and cemetery to see what they can catch.
What if we just go there with like my laptop and my microphone and we just record like 5 hours on Audacity and like see what we get, and then that's our episode.
See if we get any EMFs at all.
And then that's our episode for the week. We just put our intro music.
But what I think is really interesting about this bridge is the county blocks it off from people.
Yeah.
Like, they don't want people going to this bridge.
Well, if it's dangerous, I mean, I feel like it has more to do with the fact that it's not in code than the fact that, like, there are ghosts there.
That, and from the one video I watched with all the locals there, they were saying that there has been, like, witches there doing seances and whatnot. So I'm sure that's something else that the county just doesn't want to deal with.
Yeah, like and they're tapping into that energy. So okay.
So if any of our Texas friends have been to the Maxdale Bridge and you got a story or something that I missed, please send that over to us at weirdmythicpodcast@gmail.com.
Great.
Send us whatever on Instagram and Twitter as well, because all the stories pretty much sounded the same. So I'm thinking it is a haunted place. I'm not an expert on what's haunted and what's not, but I would say it's haunted from all the accounts that I read.
We're not ghost scientists.
No, I am not a ghost scientist.
Or bird scientist. If you remember.
Bird scientist. Oh my God.
Well, shit.
Oh.
Where is that? What town did you say that was in? Killian?
In Maxdale. Killian. Okay. Yeah, Killian, Texas.
Okay.
Or right near it. But I think there is a town called Maxdale. I think Killian is just the bigger of the two towns.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
just to put out there, because I did want to try to find that bus accident. There has been a few bus accidents in Texas.
Naomi, I don't want to hear about sad children dying, okay?
So I'm just going to give you quick little notes. And we'll talk about what happened. In 1927, in Round Rock, Texas, there was a bus accident, but it was with a train.
Oh.
This was only, how far? 40 minutes south of Maxdale. And then in 1989, there was another bus accident. It's called the Alton bus crash. But this was only 3 hours south of the Maxdale Bridge also. So I don't know if that one bus that is reported at the Maxdale Bridge is actually from there. Because 1927 was a long time ago. It could have been from something else, and maybe they're just attracted to the bridge. We've heard about that before, how ghosts are attracted to like one part or one thing or one person. Who's to say that people who passed away violently or just don't want to move on, maybe they're attracted to the bridge because of other paranormal stuff.
Okay. I don't know.
Yeah.
I just know it's 3 hours and 9 minutes from me, so I want to go there.
All right. Yeah. Well, let us know what you think about the tests to see if you're psychic or not. Let us know if you know anything about the Maxdale Bridge in Texas at weirdmythicpodcast@gmail.com. Weird Mythic Podcast on Instagram.
Weird Mythic on Twitter. We have a Facebook page. You guys just DM us, okay? Because not enough people are starting conversations with us, and now I'm just not feeling love. So forget about the email address for now, because like that's a lot. Just DM us on Twitter or Instagram and start a conversation. Works. We want to be your friends, okay?
Yes, we really want to get some ghost stories because we're coming up to October, and I would love to have some personal accounts.
For sure. We don't want to have to go out there and hunt ghosts ourselves to come up with stories, okay? We just want to get it from you guys.
Can you do it for us, and we'll talk about it?
God, what is this? Our podcast? We have to do the research? Come on, man.
Come on.
All right, guys. Well, next episode is going to be about haunted games. It's going to be a part 2 on that one. This is going to be fun. We have a lot of good stuff for you guys, so stay tuned for that.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.